Welcome to My Conversation, a presentation of KAIL TV My Central Valley. Your host today is Austin Reed. So let's get My Conversation started.
Hi there, everybody. Good Wednesday morning. Welcome to My Conversation. I'm Austin Reed. Thank you so much for joining us. We're already at midweek already. Believe that? Hey, My Conversation weekdays from 10 to 10:30 right after Access Hollywood Live. Our show aims to be all local. We talk to local community members and businesses across the central San Joaquin Valley. Another great day of a show for you at home. Let me give you a little tease of who is coming on My Conversation this morning. We're going to kick things off with Kevin G. Little from the law office of Kevin G. Little in Fresno. Also, have you heard of 5150, the energy drink? Well, I've got the general sales manager in studio with me today to talk a little bit about his energy drink. And last but not least, I've got Dr. Pierre St. Flower from Journey to Wellbeing International in the house. So a variety of topics. Let's get the conversation started. My studio audience, give it up for Kevin G. Little. Hey there, Kevin.
Thank you.
Good
Awesome.
morning.
Very pleased to be here.
Great to have you with us. Good to meet you.
Thank
How long
you.
have you been practicing law?
27 years.
27
Long
years.
time.
Almost 30.
That's right.
So are you from Fresno?
No, originally I'm from back east. I was
Okay.
born and raised in New York City, but I've lived in Fresno since 1995.
So this is home.
So this is home.
Very good. Now, what specific law do you practice? What laws?
Well, our office practices criminal defense and civil rights, and we also do employment cases. And one of the special causes that we've picked up that's part of our civil rights practice that's really near and dear to me for a lot of reasons is our domestic violence civil rights practice.
Domestic violence, obviously a big issue here in Central California and more specifically Fresno County. We were talking before the show, you were telling me that domestic violence cases, there's more domestic violence cases in Fresno County than compared to the rest of the state?
That's right. If you believe the statistics, there are approximately 7,000 911 calls in Fresno County where domestic violence is the issue. And that's about 63% higher than the state average.
You were telling me that about 85% the victims are women, but there is about a 15% ratio where the men can be a victim, can be victims.
That's right. Yeah, there's 85% of reported domestic violence cases involve women, but so obviously 15% are men. But what people believe is that only about a third of all domestic violence calls get reported, so the numbers are probably much higher across the board for women and men.
So why Fresno County? Why does Fresno County have such a problem?
Well, there probably are a couple of reasons. One is the socioeconomic status of the Central Valley, relatively lower than the rest of the state. And there has been studies show a correlation between economics and domestic violence. So that's one reason. I think another reason why, and this isn't necessarily in Fresno, but just across the board, is that many people in Fresno, because of the lack of economics, suffer in silence because one of the reasons why a lot of domestic violence victims stay with their abusers are for economic reasons. They don't feel like they can go and survive
on their own.
That's right.
Huh, very interesting. Now, what do you do specifically for the victims?
Well, what we've been doing is for the last several years, we've been researching this issue. And what we have found is that most victims don't know their rights. And also, many people in law enforcement don't fully enforce the domestic violence laws.
Why?
Well, I think there are a couple of reasons. Number one, lack of training. Also, law enforcement's a male-dominated profession, and the constituency that they're serving in domestic violence cases is by and large female. So you have that cross-gender issue as well. So I think there is a number of factors, but those probably are the main two.
When your victims work with you and your law office, what's some of the success that you've had for them?
Well, some of the successes that we've had And I think the ultimate success is to educate the public and help save even one life. And I think I feel like we've done that. But also just to bring attention to the issue of domestic violence, what we've seen as a result of some of the cases we filed, that law enforcement has increased its emphasis on domestic violence. And we feel like we've also supported a lot of groups that are advocating for domestic violence victims. So it's been a success, but we're still a work in progress.
We've got a couple minutes left. I want to switch gears and talk about civil rights.
Okay.
Because that's another thing that your law office focuses on and works with civil rights victims.
That's right.
Go into more detail for me.
Well, I've been practicing civil rights law for the last 22 years. And most civil rights, just taking one step back, are legal cases where citizens are asserting their constitutional rights against the government, most often police agencies. So we've handled hundreds of cases against police agencies throughout the state, but particularly here in the Central Valley.
Have you ever represented anybody, I'm just going to throw it out there, from Black Lives Matter, from that movement?
Yes, we have. Actually, very recently we did. We represented one of the protesters who was part of the shooting protest that went on this past summer. You might have heard of the protest where the 41 freeway was blocked back in, I think, late July.
Yes, yes.
And there were several protesters from that incident who were arrested, and we actually represented them at no cost.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow, so you do public service as well.
We do.
That's very good. Okay, we've got about 30 seconds left. I'm sure our viewers today are loving what you have to say, and they might need some help, some of them out there. How can they connect with you?
Well, the best way to connect with me is by calling my office. We urge anyone who feels like they've been affected by the domestic violence issue and have not been heard by law enforcement to call our office, 342-5800. You can also get on our website, kevinglittle.com, and we actually have a domestic violence page on the website that has a lot of important information.
Man, we could go on and on. There's so much to talk about.
That's right, there is.
Will you come back on again on My
sure will.
Conversation? All right,
Absolutely.
Thank you so much. Kevin G.
Thank
Little
you.
from the Kevin G. Little Law Firm. Give him a round of applause, everybody. You're watching My Conversation. Do stay with us.